Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Stacy, and I'm the homeschool mom of Homeschool Vibes. So, you saw the title. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the untold truth about homeschooling and my journey to realizing this untold truth, right? I'm a parent of six. So I raised a set of four kids in public schools and charter schools back in our hometown of Detroit, Michigan. And then my youngest two children, who are now homeschooled, I raised them. I started them out in charter schools. And then as we traveled and moved to Georgia, we did a public school. And then we moved here to California. Now, let me give you a little background about me. So, I'm a union organizer by trade. I started off when I moved to Georgia working for Gwinnett County as a bus driver, and I became very unhappy with the conditions and the way the workers didn't have a voice. And I found out about union rep, being a union rep, other than as opposed to just being a union member because there was no union there down in the South. And so I trained in Louisiana and New Orleans. And then from there, I did an apprenticeship down in Jackson, Mississippi. And then I took a job here in the Bay Area, right? So I went from a place where there was almost no union representation and no union presence to being in a place where I worked for one of the largest unions in the country that's even international, right? So I worked 50 hours a week, sometimes a little more. And I had a daycare provider who her neighborhood school was like 2 blocks away. So my kids at the time were in elementary, and I sent them to school there because it just made sense, right? So everything that they did on school grounds. They had homework help, they could stay after. They had STEM classes, they could stay after. But everything had to be done there because then they could walk to the daycare providers because I was always working. I didn't pick them up till 7, 8 o'clock at night sometimes. And I would drop them off at her place very early so they could walk from there to school, right? And so I became increasingly more unhappy what was happening in the schools. I spent a significant amount of time not just emailing and teachers and the assistant principal, but I would have meetings with these people like, listen, what's happening here? The racism, the bullying, the lack of representation. My kids aren't learning at the rate that I know that they're capable of. These are intelligent young people. Why are they coming home and they don't understand or know what they did all day, right? Like the pressure here is too heavy. And so, from my experience back in Michigan with public schools and charter schools, what I learned, and I had to remember that when I came here, is that the school is not going to change to accommodate your kids. If you want your kids here, this is what it is. They're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to work it out. I don't know what to tell you. And so we went from one school district to another, where my son went to middle school, my daughter went to a different elementary school. It's the first time they'd ever been separated in a school, and they were just on their own, and it was absolutely horrific. So we started that August, and by December, I knew that this is not working and they're not going back. But what I didn't know was anything about homeschooling. I had heard about it years ago when I was unhappy with the public school system back in Michigan, but I just switched from public school to charter school, which is like high school without the parents. You know what I mean? Like a college campus freshman year, right? So it's school without the oversight of the government, right? Still equally, it's not so bad. You get smaller classrooms, but when I sent my three of my four children went off to college, they didn't know the science and math of it. That's where they struggled, right? And so fast forward to 2019 when I said, okay, that's it. I'm done. We're not going back. When I thought about homeschool, all I knew was two things. One, it was my legal right in the state of California to register myself as a private school. I did not have to interact or choose to partner with charter schools or even the school district as they have like a distance learner something program. I said, no, either I'm going to do it or I'm going to do it, right? And so I opted in as a private school. I signed the affidavit, I did the legal work, right? And so that was the one thing I knew. The other thing that I theorized, well, it was what I knew, that I can't be do worse than what they're doing now. what's happening now, I can provide a better environment. And that's where we're going to start. And that's where I started. I knew nothing else. There was some information online, it was some on YouTube, but these and that was all I was really on at that time. That platform was YouTube. But these were parents with young kids, like they were 4 and 5, and they had the cute little bedrooms or family rooms they turned into classrooms, and they had all these decorations, and I had none of that. I got my apartment. I quit my job. At that time, I went from working for unions to working for the county, thinking that if I changed my hours, I could be more involved and I could help out more and they could do more after school activities, only to discover in that last semester in 2019 that nothing was going to change. The school had no motivation to change. What was changing was the lives of my children and myself, and not for the better. And so once I knew that, my theory was if I provide them with a safe space, just that, a safe space, and nurture them, that they will grow. And that was all I had, right? And so I didn't buy curriculums. I didn't do any of that. I started out just one, adjusting them, deschooling them. I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time. I know that now. And it was like a deconditioning. Like their concerns were, well, who's going to make us lunch? Because we go to school for lunch. There won't be any bells. What about our classes? Do we go from, I mean, how do we do this? We're at home. And it kind of felt like we quit school. We're not doing school anymore. And so I had to let that process ride out. And it was tough. There was a lot of tears, and they didn't understand, even though it was a bad situation, right? My mom always said that a bad relationship is probably harder to get over than a good one when it ends. And so it was a really bad relationship with the school system here. And so it was tough when it ended. And so I carried on, right? I did school days at the library. That's why those are classics for us right now. We did library school days. I did fun worksheets. I took them to Monterey Bay, to the aquarium. And I just did as many things as I could afford to do until things began to change, right? And then we started getting into more schoolwork. I had to assess what are their true levels, what do they know now after coming out of the school system? Because I thought, and I've heard it, that the school system will have them for years. I got them for a lifetime. If this is going to fail, if they're going to do bad, then it'll be on my hands and it'll be my consequences to deal with. I won't let someone else ruin them, and then I have the consequences for a lifetime, right? And so all of these things are things that I'm thinking as I'm going along, as I'm stumbling, as I'm finding my way through. So we just crossed the 4 year mark back in December of 2023. So technically we started January. January 2024 would have been the 4th year I actually began to homeschool. And as I reflect back on the time that I spent and the time that we spent as a homeschool family, what I've discovered about my theory is that I was right. I was right. If you provide, and I did, a safe space for them, and nurture them, they will grow. Now, if you take out the fact that, of course, they grew older, they got mature, they got taller, they've always been a conversation piece since they were little. We go out in public and people are just amazed at the things that these children would talk about, even when they were 3 and 4 years old. Now they're 14, almost 15 and 16. Same thing. But when I tell you, I've got a set of intellectuals that I didn't expect. There were some unintended outcomes. I didn't expect this. Some of the most amazing things I listen in on is when I'll hear them, and every day we read articles, right? It's like, okay, who's got an article today? But it can't be entertainment gossip. It has to be from Al Jazeera or some other world news outlet, right? And so they'll go through articles and they'll read them to me and they'll tell me their thoughts on them, right? So some of the best things I've listened in on is them being at opposite ends of an argument. Like they have two different opinions. And one will go back and forth and pull out articles and remember statistics to try to move the other one to their side. And I'll just sit back and listen. And it's an amazing thing because at the end, sometimes the other person might say, you know what, you're right. I hadn't thought of it that way. And at other times they'll just agree to disagree. I said, oh my goodness, right? We have math workshops where we'll go through step by step. We have a system that I've set up so that they retain the information. And math was a low place for them. My daughter, the teachers told me she couldn't get it. They would spend an hour with her every 2, 3 times a week, and she still was just confused and wouldn't get it. Well, for me, being a parent, I don't have 30 kids. I have just these two. I had to find out, what did she miss? Where's the disconnect with math? Because naturally, math is a thing, right? Found it out, took her there. We do math workshops. We don't work on levels. Have you mastered the skill is the question. So after all this time, right? All that work, all those sleepless nights, they paid off, because I had sleepless nights before when they were in public school. I had many, and so did they. But now here we are. And like I said, as I reflect back, what I've come to understand is, one of the things that I didn't know about homeschool is that homeschool is a lifestyle. And that's the untold truth about homeschooling. That it is a lifestyle. And that when you see that you've changed things in the way you do things, it changed my life. It changed my children's lives. And that's what I didn't see in those videos. All I saw was the outcome. I saw the fruit of it. Nobody said, oh, well, homeschooling is a lifestyle. You choose the way you live, choose what you accept. You begin to set standards. You're no longer in that rat race. So when you see us and we're doing videos, our Sunday vibe episodes, that is a representation of the homeschool lifestyle, because we choose what we go out to do. We don't need to prep for the week, because tomorrow is tomorrow. We've got school, right? Are we going to go to the library? We'll do some light planning. I may do a weekly schedule, but it is completely flexible. When you see me posting videos of my daughter at gymnastics, this is a representation of how our lifestyle changed. They no longer have to do everything at the school, got to be done by 5, 6 o'clock. You got to be at the daycare providers before dark because she's got other kids. She can't pick you up. It's not that anymore. It's that I can take time to escort you. I can accompany you. I can enjoy it with you, right? Lots of kids do after school activities. I'm sure she takes classes with a room full of them, but our lifestyle is different. So it's a different experience for Naima. When you see my son Nasir working, the working man on Sundays, it's a representation, right? That he has time to choose which days he works. And he chooses to work just all day Sunday so that he can do other things. He has a personal trainer. He may see you on a midday or a Friday. It's the lifestyle. When you see us out and about at Target enjoying old school Disney presentations and singing along with the songs, it's a representation of the laid back lifestyle. So that's the untold truth. I'm going to tell you about homeschooling. It's a lifestyle. And the homeschool lifestyle is a vibe. And the vibe, you know it, is everything. Thanks for watching.